Everybody, Dr. Nell here with the Transformative Reading Teacher Group. And this is the second part of the Big Sky Literacy Summit recap. Welcome. I'm going to jump in and start talking about Grand Round 3, where we left off. And we have just left off talking about the opportunity and understanding how language is everything. If we can shift this paradigm, begin to screen it early, begin to understand who our children are early, begin to, what we would say, do convergent assimilation, where we are learning more about the language of our children and they are learning about the language we're teaching in our classroom routines, and we're understanding how to support them better through curricular resources and screening. And in Grand Round 3, we moved into that language brain. And Tiffany Hogan kicked us off with deeper understandings about DLD and the concept of how disability is a societal construct. I love it when she teaches this. Wasn't that great? She's like, well, what if we all had to run everywhere? I'm not good at running. I'd suck at that. And it's true, right? What if we all were rated and if we could type or if we could bake or if we could sing? Right. So this is a construct that's developed because we decided reading was a very important invention, right? And then we developed this whole thing saying that you have a disability if you can't do it. And then that creates a whole social, emotional, mental, psychosocial experience for children when they can't do it, right? So this is powerful. We were walking away from this experience with Tiffany where we really addressed in that moment. She had this incredible slide that said, I've done a study in 2023 with my colleagues, and we typically identify children who are fussy, quiet, non-compliant early on in life as developmentally delayed. And then around 3, we're like, well, let's put them on a speech and language IEP, and the speech language pathologist can do that with other services if they need OT or PT. And then, well, let's just exit them. And then all of a sudden in school, they have a little problem with comprehension. And then we say, well, let's just put them on a SLD, a specific learning disability in reading comp IEP. Reality is they had a pervasive language development difference called the developmental language disorder. It happens in up to 10% of the population. It's comorbid with dyslexia quite often, and we're missing it. It's the second most prevalent difficulty, right? So that is that's the most important part. So if you're an SLP out there, if you're an interventionist out there, if you're a school psychologist out there, if you're a special education director, if you're a principal, you can lead us out of this old paradigm, okay? I know my colleagues in Bozeman are doing this, and they're doing it in Livingston, Montana. It's so exciting. I promise you, we're leading right out of that discrepancy model. We're leading right into a more comprehensive, robust developmental model that says we can find out information earlier about these indicators that can help us support a student across their lifespan. So then we learned about, dyslexia awareness is highlighted for a month. DLD is October 17th. Now that you know more, you can do more. Light your classroom up in purple, wear purple, light a monument up, light your school up, do something. This is big, this is real. I met mothers who are colleagues like myself who realized their own children most likely have DLD. And we cried tears, and we realized that if we just would have known differently, we would have done differently earlier in their lives. And they're older now, and they did experience the depression, the anxiety, the social withdrawal, all the things that children with DLD experience. So let's bring awareness to this and celebrate that we can do something different. There are thousands of children, right? So both are neurobiological in nature and deserve to be supported across the lifespan. Why? I pulled this statistic out of some research and then created a combined graph. Pamela Snow out of Australia did this research with a colleague around 2012, and it really hit me that up to 65% of students in juvenile delinquent centers have DLD or DLD dyslexia. You can see dyslexia is around 40%. DLD is 55, and then kind of averaging about 65 total. The hardest part is that if you have DLD, your recidivism rate is 2.5 times higher because it's it's an experience that is really complex and hard for children who have language processing difficulties to mediate and understand guilt, not guilt, why you're there, how you change behavior. It really needs to be supported before they end up in these situations. So that's why awareness is so important. Tiffany brought our awareness to the Rattle site. This is out of the UK. She has also brought our awareness to the DLD and Me site. So this little graphic shows you all the things that can be impacted by DLD. So I think you'll want to take a look at this. Very valuable graphic. It's on the Rattle site. Then we moved into Ola Ozernov-Palchuk. Wasn't she wonderful? I had a colleague say, you know what? I thought the reading brain talk, oh no, this is going to be like whoosh over my head. But that talk was fun. It was enjoyable. She's amazing. I know. I'm so excited. I'm so excited she chose to be a mentor. So hats off to you, Ola, if you're out there. So this really, I picked some nuggets out of this because the language brain was kind of brought out in all of the work until this point, especially with Bruce Perry, and Ola talked very similar brainstem language. The default mode network is what I'm going to talk about. I love the idea of this network and its integration of all the information, but that this network brain region is active when the mind is at rest and not focused on external environments. So this supports the internal direction, the cognition, such as self-referential thought, memory, retrieval, and future planning. What I also love about this default mode network is something that we're now starting to more deeply understand, is that successful communication relies on successful integration on the meaning of words in context, and that this network synchronizes across different people's brains during the communicative event. This is like, when we're at Big Sky, or you're in your classroom and you're rocking and you're rolling, or you're leading a meeting and people are just on the same wavelength as you. This is big. That's what we're talking about. You come into synchronization. And then this default mode network system, look at this. This is a 2025 study. It takes information and integrates it across time. That's so cool. But it needs to sleep. It needs to be, and you need downtime. You need to like tree bathe or mountain bathe or beach bathe, or just to have downtime for that integration to occur. This is most important for adolescents and adults. So I just wanted to pull that out and really have you go back to these. Remember, you can purchase this package of all these talks that are on the main stage and all the breakouts on the main stage, so you can continue to learn from this work. Then we had Julie Van Dyke. Wow. Julie has come out of the Haskins Labs and Yale mentored lab and really brought us new information about syntax. And I'm not going to dive into it because you have these journals. But the one thing I want to reiterate is that these journals have given you a treasure trove of information. And in the back of this one, the green one, you have this incredible resource pile that Julie and colleagues compiled for you to have this list of resources that could help you do this work. So not just all the stuff you learned about at Big Sky, this right here is filled with it. And this is digital form as well on your International Dyslexia Association membership hub site. So you can just go into your membership, you can access that. So these are all digital. And then please go access the ones from years before. They are some of the best teacher-friendly, tools that can take you from theory, not even just practical application. Here's what you do. Here's what the problem is. Here's what you do. Here's what the problem is. And it's even in math. It's in writing. It's in multisyllabic word reading. You name it, it's there. Go look at your treasure trove. And then we moved into Grand Round 4, and this was just about language instruction for all. And we had Doug and Trina Spencer, and we had our Latino influencers and Argentine influencer really helping us drive the message home that we can teach implicit on purpose or explicit systematic oral language development instruction. And I'm giving you an example. This is Let's Know from the Language and Reading Research Consortium. This was a 2013 publication paid for by taxpayer money, so it is housed on the Ohio State website. We have a few of these in the world. This one is the most accessible in the oral language realm. And you'll see it. It is awesome. It is a teacher's dream. This one's a little outdated. Our colleagues, Tiffany Hogan, Mindy Bridges, Kate Kane, Stephanie Alataiba, and Hugh Katz were all involved in this project. And if you're a teacher, it looks just like any other printed curriculum, and it sets you up for the I do, we do, you do. I now have used this in 3 schools, and we have to update it for unpublished books or making it more culturally sensitive and for the communities we're serving. But on the whole, teachers love it, kids love it, and we're making a difference. And we're seeing oral language gains at profound levels. So really good stuff. So we're in this to say language instruction for all, because the research in the LARC, actually the Nelly work, and for the Story Champs work with Doug and Trina, all of that work is current. It's all random control trialed, and it all shows that the effects were greater for those who were learning English. So if you were a Spanish speaker, if you spoke Ukraine or Mandarin or Arabic, whatever the language was, if you got good, structured, systematic oral language instruction in one of these resources, you had a higher level of effect. Makes sense, right? I mean, we're teaching you oral language in a systematic way. Powerful. So just this, that's why this was about language instruction for all, and we didn't differentiate for ML versus children who have impoverished language. Good instruction in explicit instruction, as Anita taught us in this grand round, is good for all children. And this is important, as our Maya Goodall, Claude Goldenberg, Elsa Cardenas Hagen, and Antonio Fierro drove home their stories, their personal stories of being, just marginalized for speaking Spanish. And the day has come where we bring this to the light that multi-languaging is a more robust language brain, more synaptic connections, more wealth to pull from. And Elsa, on the next slide, Elsa shared with me this QR code will take you to videos from New York City schools that show structured literacy for multilingual learners, okay, multilanguaging. So that is powerful in a resource. This QR code, take it. I can put it in our email too. And then I want you to go look in the platform, because Elsa, Antonio, Maya, and Claude all did breakout sessions in various spaces to address building your toolkit for the English language learner or multilingual learner. So very important toolkit. You can go across the breakouts and find those resources and be supported. Saturday, the final day, we went in to say new thinking, new models. So Dr. Hugh Katz wanted to do a thought process around the interactive model of language comprehension, where he linked language, knowledge, and thinking in a very well delivered talk. And in this image, knowledge networks or semantic networks is what is being demonstrated in the human brain that are being mapped. And we understand that linkage is with language, it's robust with knowledge, and really pushing our ideas around that. And then Professor Charles Hume presented on the reading is language model. This is a robust model with a very statistically significant data. Okay, this one's based on data, very different than where Hugh was. This is an actual data-driven model, so we now know that the categories all fall out, that this is how language develops into reading and how it impacts in both development and intervention. And so this is the article. It's called The Reading is Language Model, a theoretical framework for language and reading development and intervention. So that is an incredible talk. I'm going to say, I was just impressed that I taught Charles Hume something. And if you were there, you'll know what I taught him. And if you weren't, you want to watch the video. It's very fun. And then the final thing that happened here is that we went into Implementation Science Symposium. Tiffany Hogan is helping us in this nation really turn the lens towards implementation science, because we know that just talking about the science of reading or having it present isn't enough. We need to actually know how to implement it, how to help understand the facilitators and the barriers for it, how to lead this work. So Nystrom Elementary with Margaret Goldberg and Jamie Allardyce joined Margaret to tell their story from California. And you can just see that data set there, profound, very meaningful story, very real. Margaret is the coach there, Jamie's the principal. And then we moved over to Trina Spencer, Doug Peterson, and Mallory Folk. They talked about in a speech and language level. She's a speech language pathologist. They implemented a language curriculum with speech language pathologists in tier 2. Also really provocative and impactful. So that one was in a language implementation. Margaret and Jamie and Nystrom have started with structured literacy and moving to language and writing. And then the story at Winans Elementary in Livingston, Montana. We actually just had this paper published this month. It's very exciting. I'm proud of Miss Nikki Nelson, first grade teacher, Patty Durgan, principal, Ann Penn Cox for leading this work, Hannah Scheider, the school psychologist, all the team that did this work to lift this work at Winans. I have had the privilege of being a part of it. We actually shifted our model to be very inclusive of CBMs and oral language screenings starting at 3.5 years of age. And this is a school where we've actually seen the bell curve shifts in language, and we're starting to see robust outcomes down the line. The most important thing, if you know Comprehensive State Literacy Project grants from the federal government, this school had one. They no longer do because they moved off the list because our data is moving in the right direction. So really powerful story. And the last one of the day, I said I would share it with everybody, and I promise you I will. This moved a lot of people. There were tears. Julie Washington was supposed to be here too. She was in Africa, so I'm sad she wasn't. I think this would have been even more valuable with her. These ladies have been matriarchs of this movement for literacy for all through the era of whole language to the whole of language, towards language is everything, and their perspectives on what that has been like and what it means to them now and advice for the future was really supportive and fun to hear the audience members feel the love from these 4 women from their age domains as well. They're working with birth to 3 and then 3 to 8, and then as translational scientists, and Elsa being the leader in ensuring English learners are getting what they need in evidence-based practice. The last thing I want to talk about is something that happened after the summit. Dr. Tim Odegaard and his colleagues, Megan Gierke and Nicole Ormandy, really powered through updating an article that was really going into print. And this is an infographic for you to have. We're going to make sure you have it. But look at these points Tim brings out. The learnings at Big Sky right here on a document about the policy shifts that we can now consider. Most states have policies around dyslexia. And what this team is discussing is saying, we need to update them, basically. And that is provocative and meaningful for the future of humanity and children in schools and how we serve children and how we teach, based with a language bias, okay? Look at number 2. He's saying incorporate developmental language disorder into early risk frameworks. Look at number 3, look at morphology, syntax, vocabulary. Look at number 4. He's looking at saying, including full linguistic scope, that instruction is comprehensive of morphological, orthographic, and meaning-based. This is moving us away from code-based only. Strengthen the educator prep programs. What is he saying with his colleagues? Are saying phonology, orthography, morphology, syntax, semantics, and discourse paired with practical application in structured literacy context. That is provocative. That is hard work. Really lifting that for our pre-service teachers, getting language development, language disorders, knowing how to apply this in the classrooms, and then broaden the science reading policy to reflect a multi-component developmental model. That's where the reading as language, Snowling and Hume work comes in. And This is all accessible to you in this article. I encourage you to read it. And you have access because you are now International Dyslexia Association members. So, you have access to this article. You can go pull it. I encourage you to read it. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being part of Big Sky. If you were not Big Sky, I hope that you had fun learning with us. And write us if you have questions. But your job now is to take what you learned. Now that you know something new, you become something more, and you do something transformational. But that takes your personal leadership. You have to choose how you're going to raise your lid. Your lid might have been a 5 around language before, but I hope it's at a 10 now, because now you've just got the toolkit for oral language. And if it's still a little fuzzy, it's okay. It took me a long time, and I'm a speech language pathologist. Let's just keep asking questions. Let's just keep being curious. Let's just keep moving forward. And first and foremost, love those children in front of you and love yourself, because the more love you pour into yourself and build yourself, the more you'll have to give others. And that is the greatest gift you can give children. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of all of this. And, tell me your stories. I want to hear them. Write me. I would love to hear it. Go have a great day or evening or morning, whatever it is for you. And thanks for hanging out with me and learning with me. Bye-bye.